Welcome back to Between Bells. In today's episode, we're exploring the foundations of meaningful relationships and friendships. We'll dive into the key elements that makes connections last, like trust, respect, and communication. Whether you're looking to strengthen bonds with friends or deepen your romantic relationship, this episode will give you insights, tips, and real stories that reveal what it truly takes to build connections that matter. So let's get started and dig into what makes relationships thrive. Let's first talk about communication styles. As we all know, there are different ways that people like to communicate. Some people,
I feel like for me, I have a very direct communication style. I say what I want because I don't want there to be any misunderstandings. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. For me, myself, I actually just encountered this um misunderstanding like just recently. So basically, my friends, um so basically we're kind of a trio, and then one of the friends invite okay, the trio in the no, there's a duo in the trio, and that's me and my best friend. But um basically the the other person who's not in the not who's not my best friend. Oh, that sounds rude. But basically, wait, can you cut that part out?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So, okay, let me just restart. Okay. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. So I actually just recently encountered a situation um that shows that I definitely communicate with people directly. And basically the story is that one of my friends invited my best friend to a Halloween party. Um well, it wasn't really like a party. It was more of a gathering at a park. And tonight is Halloween, by the way. So
Happy Halloween, everyone.
happy Halloween. So I found out through my best friend who told me that she invited her, and I was a bit confused as to why the other friend didn't invite me as well, because the other people there I actually knew as well, and I am friends with them. So I just felt a bit left out, and I was just like different thoughts were going through my head when I realized that. And then for the next 2 days, I was debating on whether or not I should confront her. But then I realized like I couldn't even be myself, like my genuine self around her. Because I just kept thinking, oh, maybe she doesn't like me, or oh, maybe she wanted to leave me out. So I decided, you know what, I need to clear things out because she is a good friend of mine and I don't want any misunderstanding to happen. And then that might cause our friendship to fall apart. So I texted her the other day, and I confronted her. I was like, "Hey, I heard that there's this event going on and you invited my best friend, but you didn't invite me." And I was just wondering why. And then she told me the reasons why. She said that, oh yeah, one of the guys there is like likes my best friend, and she wanted them to like, give them a chance to talk. And then there's this other guy who I had past history with, and she thought that it would be awkward for me. And basically, she just tried clearing things up and telling me the truth about why she didn't invite me. And then at the end, she did invite me, but I said I already have plans. But at the end of the day, my point is, I think it's so important to, approach someone and um like be direct with them. Like don't make assumptions because assumptions are usually just assumptions and they're not really the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I don't think I had like personally ever confronted someone like that. Like, I don't think I could be that bold, honestly. But I feel like for me, like as I'm maturing, I'm realizing that like whenever something does happen, I do have like a lot of thoughts about like, oh, why am I being left out and stuff like that. I feel like that's completely normal for everyone to experience that type of feeling, but it's the way that you react after and what you do to handle that situation to help your own thoughts really shows your communication style. And I feel like if you do show your communication indirectly, I feel like the person who you're talking with or something like that, like your friends, your peers or whatever, they should be able to learn and help to communicate with your indirect communication style.
hmm For sure. I think for a successful relationship, whether that be platonic or not, or romantic, I think it's really important to know your friends or your partner's communication style because a lot of times the way you communicate might not be the same way the other person communicates, and that's what causes miscommunication, right? And misunderstandings. And um that's why it's so important to know how like people who are important to you, how the people around you who are important to you communicate. And that leads us to the five different love languages and how that may affect your relationship.
Mhm. So, what do you think your love language is? Do you know?
For me personally, I think it's quality time and physical touch.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I feel like all love languages.
Yes, I was just about to say that. Like that's what like quality time and physical touch was what I always thought it was. But then honestly, being in a relationship made me realize like
I
some
feel like it's also the intent that matters.
exactly. Like a lot of times actions speak louder than words, and I definitely stand by that. Like if you're just yapping and just like saying whatever, oh, I'll change this, I'll do this, I'll do that. Like, and if you don't actually do it, then your words mean nothing. There's no meaning behind your words because you can't even prove to actually execute these.
I feel like it's one thing to match your partner's like love language, but it's another thing to like show up for that when
Mm-hmm.
it's unexpected
Mm-hmm.
and not they don't have to ask you to do
No,
it.
for sure. I feel like as girls, like it's so important to get something without being asked for because like you know how like a lot of girls they want like flowers or they want random surprises like what we want as girls are like so simple. It's literally just like, hey, I passed by this shop and I remember this is your favorite chocolate, that's why I picked it up for you. Hey, I know you're having a bad week, that's why I got your favorite snacks, right? It's like
And it
stuff like
doesn't,
that. It doesn't even have to be expensive,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be like
it doesn't even have to cost money at all. Like
exactly.
write us a card or something. Like,
Exactly. Like if like we we don't expect like when we say that we want material things, it's not really about it's not about the thing, it's about the thought behind that thing. You know what I mean?
so it's important to know what your partner's love language is because if it is not met, they can feel really hurt and feel unloved, even though you're showing love in different ways, but it's not particularly in their expectations.
Mhm. I think it's important because like you have your own expectations. For example, maybe you're a random, what is it, gift? What is gift giving? Yeah, gift
Mm.
giving, right? Or words of affirmation. So maybe you receive that type of love this way, but maybe your partner shows love by physical touch. So then you might so they don't like because they show love through physical touch and not like words of affirmation or gift giving, that's why you might feel that they don't love you. But in reality, maybe that's just not the way they show love. Maybe they're always hugging you and holding your hands and leaning on you and all that. And that's their way of showing love. And, you know, just because they don't love you the way you want to be loved doesn't mean that they don't love you. But then again, as a partner, it is their responsibility to make sure you feel loved too.
Yeah, so I feel like there's definitely a compromise where
Mm-hmm.
you have to kind of think sometimes you have to think like, oh, what have they done? And you can't just like get mad because they haven't shown you love in your language. But I feel like as long as both parties are trying their best to like show and understand, I feel like that's a good step towards maintaining a good relationship.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now that we've talked about the different types of communication styles um um and like indirect versus direct and expectations and love languages, let's talk about red flags versus green flags. Um, So, what do you think are some red flags?
Um, I feel like when someone tries to say a bunch of stuff, like giving me empty promises. And I
For
feel
sure.
like, well, I feel like not just in like romantic relationships and platonic relationships, if you feel like they've only been asking you for something constantly, like kind of giving you that sense of like, oh, you're being used, I think that's a huge red flag.
Hmm.
And I feel like for me, like I mentor a lot of younger grades and like they often go to me for like relationship advice. And there's this person, this guy in one of my classes, and he's like, what, grade grade nine? Grade nine? And he was talking to a girl in grade 12. Because it was like the whole conversation was about like, obviously consent and like why is she even trying to prey on these minors anyway? Like I'm the same age as this girl and I wouldn't do the same. And I feel like, yeah. And also there's another mentor student and she's obsessed with this one guy. But this one guy always like is like playing games with her, like and like constantly like keeping like giving her attention and then stops giving her attention and she gets really confused. Really, that's a huge red flag. What about you? What do you think are red flags?
I think it's for sure someone who is very controlling, like, and like maybe over jealous. I feel like jealousy is something that everyone struggles with. Like, as much as you don't want to admit, I feel like a lot of people get upset because, like, they are jealous of someone or something. Um, for example, in a relationship, like it's normal, like it is normal for
Like to a
your,
certain extent.
yeah, to a certain extent. It is normal for your partner to have friends of the opposite gender. But then obviously that goes hand in hand with boundaries as well. Like, as long as they're not crossing any boundaries that you may have set, I think that it's okay. But again, it's normal for you to feel jealous, but like if they're overly jealous for no reason, or if they're super controlling, like all like demanding for your passwords to all your social media accounts, or saying you can't wear this, you can't wear that, you can't talk to this person. I don't like how you're always spending time with this other person, like all these type of things that are like super controlling and makes you feel like you can't do anything because you're in this relationship. I feel like that's a red flag.
Hmm. I feel like, I feel like a big red flag is that this is not what I was gonna say, but this is another one. But I was gonna say that when they know they're in the wrong, they keep trying to defend
Gaslight you,
themselves.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Gaslighting,
And also, like,
manipulating.
whenever you bring up like something that you're upset about, they
Mm,
automatically defend themselves and be like, "No, I didn't do this," and
yeah,
then they start attacking you.
yeah, and then they bring up like some past and
Yes,
like
yes, and then they make it about themselves.
yeah.
Yeah, self-centered.
Can you tell that we've been through some stuff? Um,
And I think another one would be like passive aggressiveness. Like a lot of people, they like, or just they say things in a re or in any type of situation that shouldn't, like, that probably doesn't know. Like, it comes off as very aggressive, and it comes off as an insult, even though they might not have intended it to be that way, or even if they did, it's like it's so out of pocket that you're like, whoa, what?
mm,
You know?
hmm.
And you're like, why would you ever say that? That seems so rude.
I feel like, oh, a really big red flag for me is that I don't like when people are so angry. Like,
Mm.
and then they regret it after, and just like, it's
Hmm.
even worse when they regret it because,
Yeah.
like,
If you have the guts to be so mad, just stay mad.
yeah, like, don't come back.
Exactly.
Like, recently, there's this, so my best friend and I, we were friends with this one girl, or these two girls, and then we stopped becoming friends with one of them, and the other girl was always defending her, so like we naturally they just go hand in hand. We just drop both of them. And this girl, like we're not like we don't hate each other, we're just like not as close as we were. And then like she removed me and my friend from her close friends. And then just like yesterday, my friend and I found out she added us back. Like, don't like I'm not interested. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just leave me out of
Yes,
it.
I
Like,
totally agree.
why would you go through that effort of putting me back on there when
Mm-hmm.
it's like
For
there's no
sure.
reason for me to be there anymore?
And I think like that goes with like, going back to like a friendship or a relationship, like for example, when you've broken up with someone or if you called off a friendship, there are so many reasons to why you called it off and everything. And I think I don't know about second chances. I feel like that's very controversial, but even if you decide like if I feel that if you decided that to break up or to end a friendship, then that's probably how it should stay. And if you ever think about like if you ever want to go back, I'd say give it time first and like because a lot of times when you want to go back, I feel like that has a lot to do with attachment, not
Mm-hmm.
really you really wanting to is more of an attachment. And I feel like in order for you to either go back to them, you both have to grow and learn from the past mistakes for you guys to be back together, and that takes time. Like it can't be just a month or 2 months, like it probably will take a year or even 2 years or 3 years even.
Mm-hmm.
And I think especially if the guy is in the wrong or more in the wrong, it definitely takes them more time to grow up.
Shade, but yeah, that kind of goes like with our next topic about growing together versus growing apart. Like obviously, if you're in a relationship, no, I don't care about that
Okay,
anymore.
okay.
Obviously, when you're in a relationship, like people obviously grow up and mature and evolve. So it's important to make sure that you guys are growing together and not growing apart. Like you guys could be going through different life transitions that may be hard for you guys to even understand each other. And I feel like having a lot of empathy and realizing that like, everything is gonna be okay. Like it's this just like a part of their lives where they just have to figure it out on their own. Like that's a big um realization.
I think I agree. I think when it comes in terms of friendship, right? Like especially with us being seniors now, like we're all going to different universities, different majors, maybe even different cities or provinces or I don't know, different countries, right? And then, like it's normal for us to grow like as individuals. And I think that, you kind of have to accept that we're all learning. We're all in the process of learning and we are, really discovering who we are as a person and what we like, what our interests are. And I think in terms of a friendship, I don't really think that there would be any way that the other person would hinder your growth. But I feel like
Mhm.
in terms of a relationship, it would definitely be something you have to watch out because a lot of times you don't actually end up doing something you like because of a partner. Because, for example, I've heard so many stories where people don't go to to their dream university or to
Mhm.
their dream major, or they just don't do a lot of things because maybe their partner is not going to be in the same place that they will be in, right? And like I feel like a lot of people in relationships are scared to explore what they truly like because they're in a relationship because they're scared to grow apart and all that. But I think it's important to realize that we are so young, and if we don't try these things now, when are we ever gonna try, right? Like,
Yeah. And I feel like within friendships, it's quite common for actually like friends to fall apart because like
mm-hmm,
grown apart and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like
mm-hmm,
even if you grow apart, I feel like friendship shouldn't be like a thing where you guys have to talk every day about like your
mm-hmm,
interests. I feel like even if you've grown apart, like they're a good person, so you stay friends with them.
mm-hmm.
And you guys can just meet up like once in a while, just talk about like
Life.
yeah, literally life and what has happened since like the past meetup and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like with a lot of my friends, like we don't even share the same interests, but like we just
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of like life to catch up on and like listen for advice and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be like you have to have the same interest to be friends with
Mm-hmm.
someone.
Mm-hmm. I think that has a lot to do with like also the different types of friends you gain in different phases of your life. Like for example, as seniors, we think back on like in elementary school, right? Back then we thought that our friends were like everything and we'd be friends with them for, forever. But now that we're seniors now, we're about to graduate high school, like we don't really actually have like keep in contact with a lot of people, and that's okay because, like we all grow apart. And like she said, it's so important. I think as we grow older, we realize it's actually really important to have low maintenance friendship because, um, as you grow older, um, friends are your everything until you get married. And then after you get married, you're gonna have, your husband that you have to spend time with, and then eventually you're gonna have kids, and you're not gonna be able to, chat on the phone with them every single day, right? Like as life gets busier and we have more responsibilities, you have to learn how to navigate friendships without being in contact with them every single day.
Like my co-host here, like we've been friends for like what, 8, 7, 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, crazy, right? Time flies. But like yeah, like we were like quite close in elementary school, but like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like high school.
We go to different high schools now, and
Yeah, and like we're still like doing stuff together and we
we've
still keep
had,
in contact.
yes.
And like we don't necessarily have to go every day just to be
Mm-hmm.
friends. We don't have to talk every day just to be
Mm-hmm.
friends. Like yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I think friendships like this, like these are like one of the like they're friendships that can actually last for a lifetime, like compared to friends that you see every day and that you're having fun every day. Obviously, I'm not saying that those friendships will not last a lifetime, right? But then if you think about your really demanding friendships, the ones where you have to talk every single day, the ones that you have to go out after school every single day, like realistically speaking, if that's what you have now, what if you went to different universities? How can you cope with that? Right? It
hmm
will be harder. It will be more challenging for you to navigate friendships when you don't get to see them every day.
hmm Yeah, like the people around you are not everything. Like shouldn't be everything in your life. Like your life should only revolve around you.
As selfish as it sounds.
Yeah. That's how life is. That's how the most successful people turn successful.
But
Friendships in the digital age, I feel like even friendships and relationships, um, are heavily impacted by social media. I feel like friendships, I think positively
mm-hmm.
impacts social media positively impacts friendships, while I think social media negatively impacts relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, like when you look online, like a lot of the videos are about like expectations in a relationship, while there's not really many talking about expectations in a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when you're in a friendship type of thing, like obviously you have the same humor, like you send them the same videos and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, and stuff that they would like,
Mm-hmm.
and
You bond over sending
yeah,
reels, and
literally,
like, and there are like trends that you guys might want to do together and you bond over that, right? I
yeah.
feel like social media wise, is friendship is positively impacted by social media.
hmm Yeah, there's so many times where like my friendships were literally saved just by like one of us sending a reel, and then
Mm-hmm.
like we spark something and we just continue talking.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like within relationships, there's so many like false connotations
Mm-hmm.
for relationships, like expectations, like you're like these expectations are actually crazy. Like you should not be expecting your boyfriend to buy you like $1 million mansion right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're literally like 16, calm down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I feel like a lot of them like negatively like um validates like jealousy
Mm-hmm.
and like there's yeah,
Toxicity.
and I feel like social media can be a platform where it's so much easier for people to cheat too.
For sure. Like there's because of social media, I feel like a lot of people are like are able to cheat. I mean, if you think about it nowadays you have like Snapchat, you have Instagram, you have TikTok. Like I know a lot of people are cheating on Snapchat, just making a new account and then just snapping other girls and everything. And like if you think back in like when social media wasn't a thing, like the only cheating you might get is from like I don't know, like this person, you work with them and all that. Like everything is like more physical, whereas now it's
There's
emotional
more.
and
Yeah, yeah,
physical,
yeah.
right?
And I feel like, but at the same time, like there's that phrase where it's like, oh, they if they
If
truly,
they wanted to, they would.
yeah, and they would, if they want to do that, they would obviously
Mm-hmm.
find a way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way that you can stop them from doing something like that.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay, we're talking about two different things, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
agree
No,
with
yeah.
what you said.
No, I agree with what you said because no, that's also why like as I grow older, I learned that like there's really nothing you can do to stop a person from doing what they really wanted to. And that goes with if they wanted to, they would. It goes both ways, right? Like there's a positive as in if uh, that will be a okay. If they wanted to, they would. I feel like that's with the expectation things, which I don't completely
Yeah,
agree with
yeah,
because if they didn't know, then how would they
yeah,
be able to do it? So you have to be able to communicate your needs.
yeah.
And then if they know,
Directly.
and if they are able to, like maybe financially or time-wise or whatever, if
Hmm.
they have everything they have, like they need, no, if they have everything that's required to meet this need, then would they do it? That's the question.
Yes.
But for what you said about if they, no, if they really wanted to, they would, as in like if
If
they
they
really
want,
wanted to cheat, if they really wanted to make you upset and mad, they
yeah,
would. There's
yeah.
nothing you can do that can
Like you can
stop
tell
them.
them to like delete like their entire phone, like smash their entire phone. They're gonna go look at someone else's phone. They're gonna
Exactly.
take their iPad. They're gonna take their like laptop. Like they'll
Exactly.
find a way. Like
Exactly. Which is why I think that like honestly in a relationship just don't be so
yeah,
controlling. Like I've learned to not ask to check their phones, not ask to do this or do that because if they wanted to, they would. And honestly, if they do it, then it's their loss because why
yeah.
would I stress over someone who
Doesn't
well
value who what a
I
great
am
person you are.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of a lesson to learn.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like you just in a relationship, you have to, or even in friendships, you have to love yourself before others can love you. Like there's so many friendships where I've recalled that like they will be so backhanded and like be so insecure to the point where they're you can tell they're asking for a compliment and
Hmm.
so it's the most annoying thing ever.
Hmm. Like, I think I totally agree with that. Like, I feel like if you don't love yourself, if you're not confident with who you are, then you're always going to be seeking validation from someone else. And if that person's not able to give you that validation that you need, because you're insecure, then to them, you're the bad person because you're not able to give them the validation they need.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes with how important it is to take care of yourself and love yourself for who you are, not because society wants you to be a certain way, but because you want to be a certain
Mm-hmm. I feel like you shouldn't change yourself for someone else. Like there's gonna be someone who loves you exactly the way you are.
way. Hmm.
And I feel like personally I've experienced where like so many friendships where I try to fit into like their lifestyle and it just wasn't for me.
And self-love goes hand in hand with everything else that we've discussed. I think the key to a successful friendship or relationship is to be able to love yourself first, because if you don't love yourself, that wraps up today's episode of Between Bells. We hope you gained some valuable insights into building stronger, more meaningful relationships and friendships. Remember, every connection is unique, and there's always room to grow and learn together. Thanks for joining us, and if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and like. Share this episode with someone who might need a little relationship inspiration too. Until next time.